Hey everybody, welcome back to our Advent series. Today is day 20 and we're talking about the winter solstice. At least in the northern hemisphere of the world, in the fall, the daytime gets shorter and shorter and the nights get longer and longer until we reach this point called the winter solstice, when the nighttime is at the longest of the entire year. For this year, that happens on December 21st, tomorrow. And then after the solstice, that day when the daytime is shortest, the nighttime is longest, it tips back the other way. And the nighttime starts getting shorter again and the daylight gets longer again. The so-called pagan religions in Europe celebrated the winter solstice for long before Christians arrived with Christmas celebrations. And the reason why the winter solstice was important to them is because their lives depended on it. With the long darkness and the cold winters and, of course, no modern technology, they needed the daylight to come again. They needed the warmth to come again. And so they held these solstice celebrations as a way to hang on to that hope that the warmth and the daylight would come again and the summer would be restored. You may or may not know that we don't know actually what day Jesus was born on. We celebrate Christmas on December 25th, but we don't know the actual date of his birth. And I've heard it said that early Christians chose the end of December as a way to fight back against the pagan solstice celebrations, as a way to get rid of those celebrations and replace them with Christmas. And while I think there may be some truth to that, I think it also presents Christmas and the solstice as a false dichotomy, as too much either one or the other. Because when the early Christians encountered these pagan religions in Europe some 1500 years ago, they didn't say, hey, your solstice celebrations are wrong, you need to get rid of that, stop doing those things, and only worship the Christian God. But instead, they said, hey, you are telling this story of how light comes again after darkness. We know that story. As the passage goes that we often read on Christmas Eve, a light shines in the darkness and the darkness does not overcome it. As Christians, we know that story of how light comes again even after the deepest dark. As Jesus says in the Gospel of John, I am the light of the world. That story of light and darkness is our story too. It's not an accident, I believe, that Christmas and the solstice coincide together. Because it's in those places that we feel are the darkest dark that God comes to bring light again. It's in those places that we feel the most hopeless that God is born into and brings life and love and grace.